Lieutenant Hernandez? Here. Chris Smith?
Here.
Howard Solomon?
Here.
Would you rise for the pledge of allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have public participation and recognition. This is acceptance of gifts and donations in an action item. That the Board of Education accept with gratitude the donation of $624.80 in grants from Donors Choose, which were written by with assistance from David Grafton and Horace Mann to be used for storage units to support flexible seating in Miss Davis's and Miss Cordella's classrooms at Lincoln Elementary, and the donation of $500 received by Miss Coaster at Lincoln Elementary from the Horace Mann raffle that will be used for flexible seating and other resources to support curriculum. Do we have a motion?
Second.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Fred Davis?
Yes.
Jeff Algren?
Yes.
Karen Malak?
Yes.
Latoya Newport?
Yes.
Lieutenant Hernandez?
Yes.
Chris Smith?
Yes.
Howard Solomon?
Yes.
Next, we have public comment. Members of the public who wish to speak to the board should complete a request card prior to the meeting. This section of the meeting will be reserved for comments from the public. All comments should be limited to 3 minutes. Criticism of individuals is not in order. Do we have any cards? We have Lewis, is it Pete's?
Peggy's.
Okay. And this is on gender policy.
Hi, my name is Louis Peppies. I'm 17 years old. I'm currently a senior at Dekalb High School, and my pronouns are he, him, his. So when I was a junior at Dekalb High School, I attended an assembly where I asked my dean if transgender students could use their preferred bathrooms. I was booed by most of the auditorium. This moment really marked a turning point for me. I've spent the past 2 years trying to improve how LGBT students are treated in our district, but it was after this event that really threw myself into activism. As a trans male, the way I go through school is different than someone who is assigned male at birth. I rarely use the bathrooms at school, and when I do, it's a staff restroom in the science wing, which I'm very grateful I'm allowed to use, but it's not always the most convenient, as it would be to just use the normal bathrooms. I changed in the nurse's office for physical education, which means I'm singled out because other people recognize that I don't change with the guys and I don't change with the girls. I've also spent a large portion of time explaining that, yes, my name is Lillian on the attendance sheet, but I'd really prefer if you could call me Louis or Lou. Throughout my school career, I've had some teachers who were amazing about my pronouns and other restrictions that come with being trans. I've had others who just really didn't care. What I'm asking for you is your support by helping pass the gender policy to help make Dekalb High School, as well as the other schools in District 428, a safer place for transgender students in the coming years. I want them to have the opportunity to feel safer in school than I did as a student. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next we have board committee reports and correspondence.
I had the opportunity last Friday to visit Woodstock Community School District 200, Vernon Pearson Early Learning Center in Westwood Elementary School, for 2 different schools in relationship to dual language programs, which we are planning to start here. And I was really impressed with the accomplishments that they mentioned within their presentation. They put a very nice packet together for us to understand that with dual language, we're increasing and improving the outcomes both for the English-speaking, native English-speaking, and for those who are native to another language, in this case Spanish. And it works. They take a class, and the class may be taught in English, or it may be taught in Spanish. Whichever it's taught in, the kids help each other through a lot of things. Their program extends all the way from kindergarten, maybe even pre-K, all the way through 12. So students coming out are very well equipped and positioned to be able to deal with people in either language. And one of the things that I've noted about this is that in terms of the attention students were paying, the fact that they're working, at least sometimes, in a more challenging situation than they would have been working in otherwise, leads them to focus their attention on their studies, and they're just doing remarkably well. So I was very impressed with them. I'm glad to see we're starting the program, and I hope to see us get to where they are and beyond.
Just have a quick thing. Out of respect for our presenters, we're going to change our protocol with during presentations. The board is going to try and save questions for the end of the presentation so that the presenter then can focus on their presentation, deliver the presentation, and then we'll ask questions after the presentation. Next, we have presentations, 2018 Summer School Review, Elementary, ESY, and High School. And this is a discussion informational.
So we have 3 presenters this evening. Lisette Jacobson will start us off with the Summer Academy. And then Jen Royer will give an update on our extended school year ESY for our students with IEPs. And then Donna Larson will finish us off with the high school update.
All right, so we'll try to be brief here. Students were invited for 20 days. We only invited students from 2nd to 4th grade this year, and students from K through 4th for 4-hour literacy-based program housed at Portland Elementary. This is what their typical schedule looks like. We did offer a breakfast and snack daily. Students also had access to PE, art, and a STEM lab. This was the breakdown of the classrooms. We had 2 classrooms per grade. The bilingual, we split them up, primary grades 1 and 2, and then intermediate 3 and 4. They had a PE for a total of 8 days. They also had art. And we had a reading specialist that came in to assess them at the end of the 20 days. And the U of I Extension Junior Chef program came and worked with 4th grade students to teach them how to make healthy meals. So we ended up doing 2 rounds of invitations for a total of 424 students. We did get 140 families committed. And out of those 140, 102 of those students attended 80% or more, which is our goal. Students were assessed at the end of the 20 half days, and our goal was to maintain student scores from their spring assessment. So in the past, it's been talked about how the growth is limited, but really the maintenance was the goal. This is the breakdown for attendance, 80% or more by grade. And then this is how the students performed. So out of the students who attended 80% or more, these are the students that maintained or exceeded that goal. At the end of the 20 days, we did send out a staff survey, and this is some of the feedback that we received. So some successes included, in the past we had 2-hour sessions. So we would have a group arrive for 2 hours, and then another group would come the following 2 hours. But increasing to a 4-hour session was conducive to teaching skills needed, and that started last year, I believe. Teachers used guided reading. Again, the STEM activities and the Idea Lab really worked out. We had Emily Weller come out and teach some lessons, and just using the technology to support those foundational literacy skills. Again, breakfast and snack was a very positive component as well, considering the poverty rate in our district. And then the PE being offered and the cooking class.
Okay, so our extended school year program is for students in our district who are working on an individual education plan.
during the regular school year. So during the school year, they're identified as needing that additional support during the summer to maintain the skills that they've gained over the school year. And we usually determine that by comparing their, where they might be before a long break and then after a long break, and determining if there's any regression in skills, and if they have, then that's usually one of the methods that we use to determine if they're eligible. So based on the students' IEPs, they were eligible for the extended school year program, and they were invited. We had 132 students enroll this year. And the breakdown of classes is there for 3 early childhood classrooms. This was all at Portland. 3 early childhood, 3 primary elementary SOL classrooms, 4 intensive resource classrooms, intensive resource classroom for middle school, and then 2 SOL classrooms for middle school. And then at the high school, we had a SOL program and a vocational program, which we call our transition program. So altogether, we have 14 certified teachers, 2 nurses, 1 in each building, a speech and language pathologist who travel between buildings. That and I coordinated, and then those secretaries, I can't remember that, sorry. 47 assistants and adapted PD were all part of the program. And in addition to that, from NIA, we had occupational and physical therapists working with the students. And of the 132 students who attended, 104 attended at least 80% or more of our days. So that was 79% of our students who attended. 80%, which we thought was positive. Yeah. So the IEPs, the goals, each student has individual IEP goals, and we measured the progress on 3 goals per student over the summer. And this is the breakdown of their growth over those individual goals. So 16% of students, it had either not yet been introduced or they just didn't show any growth over the summer on that particular goal. 80% of the students made growth and were making expected progress. And then 4% of our students mastered their particular 1 or 2 or possibly 3 goals throughout the summer. So 84% of our students showed growth over the summer school period, which I thought was pretty neat. And the successes, again, came from the survey that we sent out to staff at the end of the summer. One of the things that we've tried to do, if possible, is place students with a case manager or their special education teacher from their previous school years for consistency with staff. It's a transition, or it's a change for them to be in a different building and a lot of other things out of their routine, so if they can do that, we try to do that. My Service Tracker is the program that we use during the school year to monitor, to keep track of students' individual education plans. So we use the same system during the summer. That was so easy for staff to use. We use the Idea Lab and did all the STEM activities, which were engaging for students.
So we were trying to make it as exciting as possible so that our attendance rate would be better.
Staff shared that they really thought the communication and collaboration between all staff was really positive this summer. The calendar worked out really well. We were done for the 4th of July, so that was something that everybody really appreciated. Breakfast and snacks appreciated by ESY students and staff as well. And then just the recommendations. I think social work is something that we always do social emotional support, so that's one of the recommendations. This previous years, the ESY classes who could benefit from the cooking in our classes have not been involved, and that's something that I'd really like to try to see if we can work out for those kids who could benefit. And then the early childhood classes were already asking for some more kind of hands-on activities outside the classroom program. And we put a bunch of pictures of the kids. That's the best part is to see the kids engaged in what they're doing. So this is our Idea Lab, some of the activities. The goal of the Idea Lab is to do STEM activities, which, I'm sure you're familiar with, but it's also to teach, with cooperation, working together, and a lot of the kids in our Sunday school program practice with that. So these are just some pictures of them working together to create something given a specific direction.
Yeah.
So this is the Summer Academy 4th graders get to do the cooking class, and this is one of the classes that would be great if some of our ESY kids can start in this.
And these were no loss last year. Some fun pictures.
And then our vocational program at the high school.
All right, high school. So high school, we were able to run 5 additional sections this year, thanks to Tim with that additional FTE. So I just made note of the asterisk that what other sections we were able to run for this summer. And basically, we sat down and looked at student needs, student failures for different sections, enabled so that we could run with it for this for the high school for the summer program. All right, so I also, we talked about just our teacher-led and computer-based programming. We had 3 sections of Annuity that that ran, and we'll get into deeper information on the Annuity piece based off of, or compared to the teacher-led programs. So this year, we were able to, we had 786 students enrolled, and out of those 786, we had 694 students complete the program based off of, and that's passing grades as well, so it's not including any of our failures. So you can look at the historical numbers there. It was a good summer. Out of the 694 students that completed and passed these classes, that is a breakdown of the classroom instruction based off of the Annuity, and then the 10% there is driver's ed. We had, I believe, 80 students enrolled in driver's ed, and 79 completed that for the summer. So 601 students completed a classroom course, 43 students completed Annuity, and then 79 with driver's ed. Here is our cultural breakdown for this summer, which is pretty comparable to our last summer school program. Our SES breakdown, which is still pretty comparable to our last year's program. So the computer-based Annuity program, it's online credit recovery system. So a lot of our seniors that are at risk for graduation based off of maybe, let's say, even 3 credits, they do not walk at graduation, and they're able to attend. We have 3 sessions of Annuity. So one Annuity session is, I think they're 2 weeks long, between June and August, and the students are able to work at their own pace, so they're able to, we had one student in particular that could not finish even in that first session and still came back second session and was able to graduate with a diploma. So I have the numbers here that students that were at risk of graduation that stayed through all the way through August, and how many students were able to graduate with a diploma. So for the first session, we had 15 students that enrolled from June 4th to June 29th. 8 students completed the courses that were needed for graduation and received diplomas for the first session. 2 for the second session, and then you guys can all go back and look at this. I think we can send that out to you. And 5 for the third session. Wonderful. So just some goals for the future, and with our attendance rate, if students miss 2 days, then they are dropped from the program. So ours is really, it's really crucial that they attend those programs. And we make a list of all the students that don't attend for the day, and I call until I get a hold of them to make sure that they come back the next day. So we call every single day the entire list. But ensure offerings are aligned with our student needs. So again, sitting down, looking at those semesters of what's needed. A semester 1 class or a semester 2 class when we're offering it for the summer. So it's all based on student needs and the FTE that we have of how many sections we need in each area that is needed for our students. Monitor the impact on the graduation rate. Offer dual credit opportunities and some AP support. Explore the possibility of adding courses from other departments or supported special education classes. As of right now, we do not have, and students know this going into this, we do not have any support for our special education classes. But with working with all of our population of students, we're able to implement some accommodations for some of the kids for their testing. If they're having some issues with accommodations for testing, or let's say some just social emotional needs or behavioral needs, we were able to manage that this summer. And just increase availability for students to take driver's ed so that more students can take driver's ed in the summertime so that they have more of an opportunity instead of just looking at it based off of their semester. Some of them, it won't fit into their schedules during the school year. So they have a better opportunity for the summertime. Any questions?
Ms. Larson?
Sure.
I want to, you had shared 694 students completed, 601 classroom, 43 ingenuity, 79. Are those individual students or are those some kids that are taking more than one class?
Those are individual students.
So we basically have then 38.5% of our student body is in summer school.
Mhm.
Because, and again, they're classes to move ahead, not remedial.
Correct.
Classes, not
We
all
have
remedial.
some remedial classes more in our area for humanities, speech is more of a go get ahead, but some remedial, and then we do look at the remedial math courses. I believe in the past we did not run the remedial math.
But that's
We have run, I mean, we ran more.
More sections.
More sections, yeah, we were able to run 3 sections.
But that's still impressive that we have 38% of our students that are still coming through our doors in the summer.
And we had a lot of students, a lot of credit deficient
Yeah.
students that stayed through the entire summer. Came back for the classroom base and then still stayed for both Annuity sessions. So that was pretty remarkable. So towards the end there with that session 3, when there was some fanciness going on, our students that definitely had to be removed because they reached their attendance threshold. You know, it was pretty remarkable they stayed all the way through and caught up quick with a lot of credits.
Personnel, you outlined on the lower levels that we had 14 instructors, 47 instructional assistants, and 4 other personnel. For this program, have we been maintaining the same number of personnel or FTEs? Or
We've been maintaining, we added 5 additional FTE from Tim's summer school program for the reading academy portion of it. We took that FTE and we're able to create more opportunities with 5 additional FTE. And those classrooms, they averaged about 35 students in each class that we were able to offer that to. So including 8th grade coming up and incoming freshmen, already coming in ahead by half credit.
On your last point, increase the availability for students to take driver's ed. You have a feel for like how many?
We're thinking if we can add 4 students, I was talking with Mark Sykes, that's his bread and butter. We were talking about 4 students that could be available to drive with them. And so we're thinking, so 4 per person, I think we have 5 FTE for the driver's ed program. That's what we're thinking about for the future, and that would bring our classroom numbers down as well for the actual school year. I don't
understand what you just said.
We're thinking, so we're thinking about just 16 to 20 students additionally.
Okay.
So that we would be able to handle that.
The constant challenge with driver's ed, and it's not only here, is the behind the wheel hours.
Mm-hmm.
And a few years back, they changed it where the driver education teacher, the behind the wheel, they could basically, after a certain amount of hours, I think it was 3, they could write off that they're good. Then the state said everybody has to drive 6. That's when they also added the number that the parents have to be able to verify when they go to the Department of Motor Vehicles. When they did that, it really compromised getting all of the behind the wheel time done. And it gets us backed up, and we try to catch up in the summer.
I mean, I know it's a problem. My kids have went through it,
Right.
so it's real.
We also have to consider our outplaced students, that they do not have the opportunity to take behind the wheel at KUC or Ombudsman. So they can do the classroom-based instruction, but then we can offer them, so that's additional spots available for them as well.
In one of the photos that I was looking at, which was the second page of photos that was shown, there was an image of 2 people engaged in constructing something very tall and standing on chairs to do so. Were there were those teachers, were those students, and was there, if those were students, was there teachers nearby to deal with it?
Yeah.
They're the ones that did.
They were strict, minimally 3 to 5 adults in the room with a class meeting to
And those were older students. That was a big thing.
Do they charge with the pharmacist under even?
No, just want to make sure that if there's something that does go wrong, that there's somebody around to take care of it quickly.
Howard, that, I didn't put any pictures of them, but I'm.
Okay, we'll get it back to that.
Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have the non-business consent agenda. This is an action item that the Board of Education approve the non-business consent agenda items A through E. Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Discussion? Roll call.
Jeff Albrecht,
Yes.
Aaron Malak,
Yes.
Victoria Newport,
Yes.
Valerie Pena Hernandez,
Yes.
Rick Smith,
Yes.
Howard Solomon,
Yes.
Fred Davis.
Yes.
Next is the business consent agenda. This is an action item that the Board of Education approve the purchase order request. Oops. I missed the. Sorry, that the Board of Education approve the purchase order requisition list as attached.
So moved.
Second.
Right, discussion? Yeah, roll call.
Aaron Malak,
Yes.
Victoria Newport,
Yes.
Valerie Pena Hernandez,
Yes.
Rick Smith,
Yes.
Howard Solomon,
Yes.
Fred Davis.
Yes.
Jeff Albrecht.
Yes.
Okay, next is business and finance. And this is approval of DHS course fee changes for 2019-2020. Fee changes, sorry. This is an action item that the Board of Education approve the attached DHS course fee changes for the 2019-2020 school year.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
discussion?
Just to verify my thoughts on this, this is entirely in relation to the upgrade of the calculators, of the graphing calculators. Okay, thank you.
Roll call.
Valerie Pena Hernandez,
Yes.
Rick Smith,
Yes.
Howard Solomon,
Yes.
Fred Davis.
Yes.
Jeff Albrecht,
Yes.
Aaron Malak,
Yes.
Victoria Newport.
Yes. And next we have the 10-year life safety survey, and this is an action item that the Board of Education approve administration to contract with Richard L. Johnson Associates, Inc. to complete the 10-year life safety survey to submit to the Illinois State Board of Education based on the requirements of section 180.310 for Cortland Elementary and Dekalb High School, and to complete the master facility plan for all schools in the amount of $54,000. Do we have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Discussion?
Yes. With this is for, most of the work is going to be done by the architectural firms involving 2 schools.
Tammy?
It's mandatory that we have the health, life, safety inspections. Yes.
I understand that that's, I just want to make sure which schools we're looking at.
Cortland and DHS.
Cortland and DHS, and they're out of sync because, with the others, because of the time in which they were built, and they're newer schools.
Amy, you want to speak to the cycle that we're trying to create?
Can we get the cycle down to where it only happens once every 10 years, is what I'm looking at?
I would love to, but because it would be that we would have to redo the remaining buildings that we did just a few years ago and have the added expense pretty quickly when we could delay this another 6 to 7 years. So instead of adding an additional expense right away, we're gonna remain on 2 separate cycles. We did combine the high school and Cortland together. Technically, we could wait Cortland until 2021, but it's so that we could have 2 cycles. We're gonna do it at the same time. I'm sorry, the high school, 2021, but instead we're gonna do it at the same time as Cortland.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Rick Smith,
Yes.
Howard Solomon,
Yes.
Fred Davis,
Yes.
Jeff Albrecht,
Yes.
Aaron Malak,
Yes.
Victoria Newport,
Yes.
Valerie Pena Hernandez.
Yes. Okay, next we have new business and administration, and this is the benefit renewal rates. This is an action item that the Board of Education approve the insurance committee's recommendation for benefit renewals for medical, dental, vision, and basic life insurance and voluntary benefits as attached. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All right, roll call, please.
Howard Solomon,
Yes.
Fred Davis,
Yes.
Jeff Halpern,
Yes.
Karen Malak,
Yes.
Victoria Newport,
Yes.
Stellar Pena Hernandez,
Yes.
Kurt Smith.
Yes.
Next is Project Search Partnership, and this is an action item, that the Board of Education approve a partnership with RAMP, the host business, and the Department of Rehabilitation to establish a project search site in Dekalb for the 2019-2020 school year. Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Discussion? Howard?
Another clarification, while looking at the slides involved with this, one of them at one point mentioned something called Project Reach.
It did?
Yes,
Pardon me, it's
what, that was search, they're all meant to be
that's just
searched.
an oops.
Okay, thank you.
But we are reaching out.
I'll just tell you one.
Good eye, Howard. Good eye.
I would like to have explained to me, it seemed open-ended, our involvement, or that is our outreach to other school districts to be in this program. We mentioned in the last time Caneville as being a possibility, or the name came up. So I would like to have clarification as to are there a certain number of our students that are proportionate into this? I mean, do we have a certain number proportion? Or in theory, could the entire thing be from out of district? The entire program be from out of district?
Answer that?
Sure.
We're always going to have students that meet the criteria. And in the event that there are spots available, then we would open it up to neighboring districts if they had students who also met the criteria. But we have an 18 to 21 program now. That transition program currently exists. What this partnership would allow is for it to be, as was explained last meeting, for it to be on one site, to have a partnership with RAMP and the job coaches, to have multiple different opportunities right in the same facility. And again, it's the partnership between the business partner who we're hoping we can end up partnering with RAMP, and the opportunities that it's going to present for these students is a great opportunity. It's a win all the way around.
Okay, any other discussion?
Yeah.
Thanks.
I also am a little nervous about, thank you, Christy, for sending me that document, that PDF file that explains in a broad sense all of this. Still haven't got through all of it yet, but I will. But I'm just a little nervous. I mean, I think in general, the program is a great deal. I mean, I think that these kids need something in order to transition into the workplace or whatever they can do in society. And so I'm all for that. I'm a little nervous because we have very little specificity in this motion. But I talked earlier with Victoria, and I understand that RAMP is the employer. Is that right in this process? Or this
RAMP
partnership, I should
takes
say.
the role of finding jobs for our interns after the program, yes. So that's their role. They're also providing us with 2 job skills coaches at the site. We have 1 teacher, and then after they complete the 1-year program, then that's how RAMP gets paid from the Department of Rehab Services.
I saw that in your
Is
materials.
by
Once they
placing.
identify, then they can ask for the payment.
Once they placed successfully,
Okay, so it has to be successful placement. not
yes,
just identifying.
it's not, no,
Okay,
it's
all right, good.
successful placement, so they're working very hard for our students.
But the placement rate is high.
Yeah.
85+%.
Well, I agree with, I mean, not agree necessarily, but I understand what Jeff is trying to ask about outside schools coming into our program. And I did ask a question last time about, you know, is there an increment? How many seats are there? And when you open up another section, for instance, right, if it were a classroom, you know, how many kids would have to be available in order to open up another section or job? I don't know how to say it in this
I
context,
think to answer your question, I think we would be getting ahead of ourselves at that point. Right now, I see us, we would come up with at least 20 just to interview and do the skills assessment. Out of that, we'll start with 13. How many of those would be our own students? My guesstimate would be around 7 or 8. And from there, we have other districts who I've already had some interest if we go this route from some of our neighboring districts. Okay, but to go to a different, I'm sorry?
No, they do. They tuition in.
Well, and you said, Jamie, it's on an as available spot. If the spot's available, then we take those students from an outside
Yes,
school.
we'll take it's our program. We'll take our students first.
They get priority.
They get priority. And then if there are spots available, we would open it up and.
And how do we allocate those spots? Is it a lottery? I mean, how do you determine if there are 3 schools competing for a limited number of spots or more students and spots? How do we allocate that?
Honestly, it is based on their skills and where they are
So
at.
best fit.
The best fit. And there will be students that we interview, and it's not, I say we, because it's a team. RAMP is a part of that, as well as the host business. And RAMP is really taking the lead on that to determine if the students have, if you recall, she talked about, Julie Bosma, talked about the number 3s. Number 1 and 2 students, we're going to send them back to our program, our transition program, and say, work on these skill sets, maybe the next year. Or maybe they're just not at a level where they would be able to access project search. Okay, the 4s and 5s, they may encourage them to go and get a job because they're ready to move on. Is it
an iterative process then?
Is it a what?
Is it an iterative process where they go, you believe that they're in 1, 2, or 3, but whatever those levels are, right? And they're sent out to the employer, the host site, and then they're on trial? Is there like a trial period?
No, what they're doing is they do skill assessments. They do a number of different assessments as part of Project Search. This is their curriculum. This is their program that has been a proven program across the nation and internationally. And so they use that assessment to determine who's the just right fit for this program. And that's why we do start with 13, just in case somehow or another somebody says, oh, this isn't, because they really want 12 for sure. But we start.
Okay, so it's not iterative. You're really believing that you've identified the person for the job, that it will be a good fit.
For the internship.
Yeah.
And then within the internship, they get 3 different job placements or 3 different internships to determine where is that student's best fit.
Okay, I didn't see that part. Okay, thanks.
Sure. Roll call.
Fred Davis.
Yes.
Jeff Algren.
Yes.
Harry Malott.
Yes.
Victoria Newport.
Yes.
Valerie Pena Hernandez.
Yes.
Rick Smith.
Yes.
Howard Solomon.
Yes.
Okay. With this, the meeting will be adjourned. All in favor?
All right.